Today, we will learn about the second son of Fatima and Ali. Hussein was born on the 3rd Sha'ban, the 4th year of Hijri. When he was born, the Holy Prophet was given the news of the birth of his second grandson. He arrived at the house of his daughter, took the little baby in his arms, said the azan and iqama in his ears. People around the Prophet saw tears in his eyes. Fatima asked what was the reason for this, and he told her that this boy of hers will achieve martyrdom, but consoled her by adding that God will create a nation who will mourn Hussein till the day of judgment. Another famous saying of the Prophet at the same time became synonymous with the name of his grandson Hussein. Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn. Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. Several times when Hussein entered the mosque as a small child, the Holy Prophet will put him in his lap and tell his companions that this is Hussein. Look at him and remember him. The Prophet's insistence to remember Hussein shows that those who will forget this event will cause trouble in Islam. After spending 7 wonderful years with his grandfather, the Holy Prophet died, and soon after, Hussein's mother Hazrat Fatima also died. The next 25 years of his life he lived in Medina with his father Imam Ali, his brother Hassan, and many other brothers and sisters in the family. He grew up to be loved by the companions of the Holy Prophet. His main activity in Medina was to see that the people there know true Islam. He also managed a trust set up by his father to help the poor of the city by giving them food and many necessities of life. This was the true Islamic welfare state in progress, where every hungry mouth must have food, every naked person must have clothes and a shelter over his head. Apart from administrating the trust set up by his father Ali, Hussein's main occupation during these 25 years in Medina was to teach the newly converted Muslims real Islam through the Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet. He also helped his father and his brother as much as he possibly could when they were both caliphs. It was in the month of Rajab 60 Hijri that Muawiyah died and his son Yazid succeeded his father on the throne of the Arab Empire with Damascus as his capital. Muawiyah in his cleverness had told Yazid that whatever you do when you become ruler after my death, do not ask Hussein ibn Ali for the oath of allegiance. Leave him where he is and you will have no problems. But Yazid, in his arrogance of power, did not bother to remember the wishes of his father. The very first thing he did was to write a letter to his governor in Medina, informing him of his succession to the throne of his father and ordering him to take the oath of allegiance from Hussein ibn Ali. Yazid realized that although he had full temporal power and is the virtual ruler of the Arab Empire, but he has no spiritual strength unless the grandson of the Prophet accepts him as such. People in Mecca and Medina would still regard Imam Hussein as a leader, if only spiritually. When the governor of Medina asked the Imam for his allegiance, he strongly refused and left Medina. After leaving Medina in the month of Rajab, he stayed in Mecca for about 5 months. It was in the month of Zul-Hijjah 60 Hijri when he noticed that there were Yazid's soldiers in Mecca in the disguise of Ahram to kill the Imam. Imam changed the rituals of Hajj into Umrah and decided to leave Mecca. A question is asked sometimes that why Imam Hussein had not chosen to come to terms with Yazid as his elder brother, Imam Hassan had done earlier while dealing with Muawiyah. The question does not take into account the difference in the situations of the two brothers. It is clear that if Imam Hassan faced the same circumstances as Imam Hussein, he would have done exactly what he did, and if Imam Hussein was in Imam Hassan's place, he would have signed the treaty with Muawiyah. The momentous journey of Imam Hussein begins with Mecca towards an unknown destination which eventually ended at Karbala. Horus soldiers surrounded the Imam's camp, but no one knew what was going to happen until 3 days Shimmer arrived with another 10,000 men to fight an army of about 40 people. Shimmer ordered the Imam and his entourage to leave the road bank and pitch their tents away from it. Imam's brother Abbas and others refused, but Imam told them to move the tents. The tents were moved and the river was immediately occupied by the soldiers of Yazid. The next day, on the 7th, all water supply was stopped for the Imam's party, and by the 8th there was no water left in the camp. In the scorching heat of the desert, even a few hours without water was impossible, yet for 3 days these people were without water. On the afternoon of the 9th, Yazid's army moved forward in a formation of attack. Imam was informed and he sent Abbas and Ali Akbar to inquire about this. The reply was that orders were from Kufa to commence fighting and finish off with the family of the Prophet. Imam asked them to give them a stay of 1 night, for they all wished to spend their last night in meditation and prayers to God. The next day on Ashur, Imam made his brother Abbas the flag bearer of the tiny army of 70 persons. Imam did not give orders to commence fighting until arrows came from the enemy camp. One by one, the companions and then the family of Imam Hussein went out and courageously fought Yazid's army. After all of his army attained martyrdom, Imam Hussein wore his armor, said goodbye to the women and children, and went to fight the enemies of Allah. He fought like a fearless lion, proving that he was the brave and valiant son of Imam Ali. The enemy realized they could not kill him easily, and so they ambushed him and slaughtered him mercilessly. Imam Hussein's sacrifice of not only his own life, but the sacrifice of his companions and his beloved family saved Islam from the disastrous clutches of Yazid and made it certain that the religion of Allah would survive forevermore.